And joining us now is indeed David Stearns. Looking yoked right now, H. That's what you're...
He's looking good, man. Looking good, David. Hey, David, I got to ask you first thing out the gate. The Met fan thing, we've heard so much about it. So tell us a little bit. We just keep hearing specks of it, but did you take the 7 train, you go with your buddies? When did you start going to games? Give us a little background.
Yeah, you know, I grew up in a National League Baseball family. And so my grandfather grew up in Brooklyn, was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, stayed loyal to National League Baseball. And so when the Mets came to New York, that really just followed through with him, with my parents, and then ultimately to me. So I grew up a big National League Baseball fan, grew up a Mets fan. Yeah, took the 7 train to Shea. You know, mid-'90s, late '90s Mets were sort of my teams, and they had some really good teams, and so it was a lot of fun to watch.
I was going to say, it seems like it's a perfect fit, but in some ways, sometimes people can say these jobs can be more challenging because maybe something you've dreamt about your whole life. How have you managed, I guess, your expectations around doing the actual job now?
Well, I think, look, I'm coming into this understanding the market where I'm working, and hopefully that provides me some perspective in terms of what I'm stepping into. I think I understand this organization. I understand our fan base because at heart, that's who I am. And I get what the expectations are. We want to have success. Certainly our fans want to have success, and we're going to do everything we can to get ourselves there.
So you understand the fans are nuts. They're crazy. You got it. You're Met fans.
I wouldn't say passionate, intelligent, thoughtful, and they're gonna let us know. They're gonna let me know when I do things that don't work out, and I get that. That's part of these jobs in these types of markets. They're also really going to support us when we do things well, and that's what makes this so rewarding. Is you have a group of fans that really care.
So I go to the Jet game the other night, and obviously you haven't had a press conference yet, but everybody's asking me about Mendoza. So congratulations on Mendoza. How's the managerial search? How do you narrow all that down over this period of time? I know
Yeah. So you start with a pretty big list, and I think there are plenty of managerial searches that have been going on and are still going on this offseason. You start with big lists. You do as much calling around and checking references and doing due diligence as you possibly can. And through those types of conversations, you begin to narrow down your list and get to a group that you feel really comfortable with for your organization. We ultimately had I'd say 4 people that I would call finalists in our group, and I think all of them are really talented people, and are going to be, or in some cases have already been, exceptional managers. And so it was a fun process for me. It is a fun process for me. I got to learn a lot about how some other organizations are doing things, about how other people think about the game, and so I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to moving forward.
So we heard so much about Craig Counsell coming to New York and your relationship obviously going back. How close was that to happening?
I don't know. Craig and I had plenty of conversations. That's a good question for Craig. I'm happy for Craig. I think throughout this, what was most important is for him to really figure out what was firing him up, what situation was the right situation for him, and he found that, and I'm happy for him.
All right, let's talk about the Mets. Let's talk about your team now. Go ahead.
I was going to say, David, I heard you said the other day you're not going to hire a GM. What's the thought process there?
Really, the thought process is we've got a lot going on right now. We're already at the beginning of the offseason. I need to focus on that. I need to focus on our offseason plan, working with our current front office to making sure we have the best offseason possible. And hiring a GM is really an extensive process. It requires a lot of time. And candidly, right now, where we are in the offseason, I don't think that's the best use of our time.
All right, so David, give me the 30,000 view of the Mets now. How you see the Mets, what areas you need to work on. It's been a little, you got depleted with trades and everything else. You got some prospects back in a couple of the trades. How do you view the Mets right now as you see it?
I think we're well positioned to create an organization that can have the type of sustainable success that Steve Cohen wants, that I want, that our fans want, and that's the goal here. The goal isn't just to do this for a year. The goal is to be able to compete at a championship caliber level year in and year out, so that we give ourselves the best chance to win a World Series or multiple World Series. And that's that's what we're trying to do. And I think we're well positioned to begin that journey. As you mentioned, Harold, we've acquired a lot of top-end talent in our minor league system. A lot of those guys are at the upper levels of our minor league system and should be able to contribute to major leagues, whether it's 24 or 25. And that's exciting for me. And then as an organization, this is an organization that's committed when the opportunity is right to investing in players, to investing in our team. And I expect we're going to continue to do that.
Is pitching the priority right now, David?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at our roster and you look at where probably there are some gaps that we need to address, I'd look at pitching and say that's something that throughout the offseason we're going to be focused on. We're not going to neglect the other aspects of our roster, but run prevention and clearly pitching is a big part of that.
What did you learn in Milwaukee that would bring you to where you're at in New York over the long period of time?
Yeah,
I think a lot.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun in Milwaukee. I worked with some incredible people that are really, really talented. And I think when you work in a market like that, in an environment like that, you learn to be creative. And maybe you learn to look around corners that perhaps some other people aren't looking around because they don't have to. And so my challenge now here with the Mets is to continue to look around those corners, to not just take the easiest path because we have the resources to do so, but to be able to find opportunities that may be a little bit more hidden, and that allows us to build depth. It allows us to build a stronger organization as a whole and hopefully win more games.
Hey, I remember a few years ago we were talking about the shifts and everything else. Now you had a chance to kind of sit back and look at all the new rules. How do you see the new rules happening this year, and how would you try to look at that?
Yeah, I one of the great things about my past year is I wasn't locked in on any specific team. Obviously, I watched a lot of Brewers games, but I was able to watch games all over the dial and all over the league. And so I got to see how the rules impacted different teams. And look, from a product perspective, I don't think it could have gone any better from my perspective. Just watching a lot of games on TV, being able to flip around and seeing the pace of the games, the energy in the games. I think our fans enjoyed it. So I'm a big proponent of pretty much everything that was put in. I think, Harold, when we talked about this maybe 4 years ago,
yeah,
I probably would have been a little bit cautious about restricting the shifts. But I think it worked out well, and I think it had the desired effect, and I think MLB deserves a lot of credit for pushing that through.
No, well, obviously the game has changed. You probably changed your strategies a little bit too, so you took advantage of it before. Hey, let me ask you this last question. I could talk to you all day long. You know this. Internationally, did you get a chance to travel internationally? And I'm curious how you see, like, if you went and watched any Japanese baseball, how that game has changed and how it stacks up to Major League Baseball competitively.
Yeah, so I did travel internationally. I took some family trips. My wife and I took some trips. We had some fun doing that when I had a little time to do it. I did not make it over to Japan on one of those trips, but I have been watching some Japanese baseball. And I think that's pretty competitive. I mean, that's a competitive league right now. I think most people are going to say it's somewhere between AAA and Major League level, and it is going to fluctuate a little bit year to year. But that's a really competitive league, and with the evaluative techniques we have over there right now, I think we're in a pretty good spot to make sound evaluations of players who are playing over there.
See, you thought I was trying to lean you towards Yamamoto, but I didn't even go there. I'm leaving it alone.
Very, very tactical, Harold.
No, I wasn't even going there. These guys are telling me that. I seriously wanted to know how you thought the international game stacked up. You answered it perfectly.
Last one, awesome. David. Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the international game is really good right now, and we see that in the WBC, right? I mean, there's really good baseball being played all around the world right now, and that's great for our sport.
Last one, David. Pete Alonso has been a great Met, hits a ton of home runs, but a year away from free agency. How's that look with regards to trying to lock up Pete?
Yeah, he is a great Met, and he's a homegrown Met, and he's performed at a very high level. for a long time as a Met. And so, we're going to have those conversations. I'm generally of the mind that I try to keep those conversations out of the public dialogue. I understand this is New York. I understand it's much tougher to do that in New York. But from my perspective, I'd like to have those conversations behind closed doors. I think they're most productive that way.
See, that wasn't even me, David. That wasn't me. I didn't ask that.
Listen, that is not a hard-hitting question. David saw it a mile away. He's a pro.
Hey, David, thank you, man. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to watching the Met fan run the Mets. This is pretty cool.
A lot of Mets fans at that Jets game, it sounds like. Give it a lot of feedback.
I mean, all over the place. Mets and Jets. That's how it works, right?
100%. Thanks, David.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.